Hey there, Squirrel Army, how's it going? We're doing another Murders at Karloff Manor. This is the Blame Game Precon Upgrade Guide.
You can join the Squirrel Army by subscribing.
Alright, so Blame Game is the Boros Commander deck. Be having just a bit of a look at the face commander of this deck and having a look through and review of some of the cards in the deck and seeing what we kind of need for it to make it a whole lot better so that you can get some good games in and make it not the blame game of your own cards. Alrighty, so I've already discussed this commander, so I'm not going to spend much time in this video discussing it as I've already done. So there should be a little bar coming up along my head here somewhere or around there somewhere, or if I haven't, hey, yell at me and tell me I've forgotten it, but hey, there should be a link there. It is a pretty recent video for you guys to go and check out what I think about this commander in depth more so, because I don't really want to spend too much time in this video discussing it since I've already done so. Alright, so this is another one of the deck lists I've dug up here to have a look at what we need to figure out with this deck. I don't think this is the best way to view it. I think this is a much better way to visualize these decks, so I'll be using this method as I usually do, but still, it's one of those things. It's hard just to read words off of a page and really get a sense of kind of what's in this deck and what's in this list. So yeah, it just makes it easier, especially with new cards. New cards, like I think I've said before, take a long time to memorize what their name is specifically. For me, like I remember what the actual text of the card mostly does. But some of the weird interactions, sometimes I do get a bit confused with how it kind of works. But still, like, it does take a long time to remember what new cards do. But there are only so many new cards that actually, like, quote-unquote hit in the format. They don't really, like, a lot of them don't really stick that much. But anyway, whatever. That it is what it is sometimes. Like, some of these decks, they're onto their own, so that's fine. But I'll go through this list, have a look what I think should be taken out, and then come back and say, hey, take this stuff out, and give you some suggestions of what to put in. Alrighty, so I think I've finished up here with this one, so we can have a look at the deck list and see what I've cut and what I've not cut and all that sort of stuff. But if you're not super interested, obviously, again, you can go right down there into the comments. The deck list should be down there below. Check that out if you want to figure this deck list out for yourself and don't want to listen to all the chatter, which I know most people tend to just do. And if it's not there, do yell at me for not putting it there, but it should be there, hopefully. But sometimes things happen when we get busy because lots of things is going on right now. But anyway, we'll get going on into what I cut and what I didn't cut and what I've added and that. Again, won't really talk about lands because I didn't really cut anything, but you know, guys should know the drill. Cut the bad tap lands, add whatever you can, even if you've just got basic lands, you'll be far better off. First, Agitator Ant, like, it's not bad, but the problem here with a couple of these cards, I'm going to talk about the same thing here with Orzhov Advocate, really, is that they give our opponents too much choice, too many options in taking the counters. We don't want to give them any choices in the matter at all. We want them to just be going, right, we're goaded, or we have to attack someone other than us, and whatever. That's what they have to do. They have no choice. They're always goaded. They can't attack us. They've got to leave us alone. That, or we want Ghostly Prison style of effects to, you know, just say, hey, you can't attack us unless you pay a bunch of mana or whatever, or you do something really ridiculous. So you've got a lot of hoops to have to attack us, rather than giving them the actual options as to attack us. So we want to just goad them or just completely stop them. So we don't want these. Ransom Note, these are not very good. Just taking them all out. The Showdown is not too bad. It reminds me a bit of Death Kiss. In a lot of ways, but I think I would rather have Death Kiss in here than this, but it's just one of those things. There's a few spells in here like Disrupt Chrome. It's kind of similar to that, but it also gives them double strike, so I guess it's not that horrible. But I don't know. I wanted to cut Disrupt Chrome kind of too, but I decided to limit myself on these ones to cutting only a handful or so of cards, because it makes it so much easier to sort of just do straight away, and just 6 things that just sort of, it does have that modality to it, but I think you're going to overload it. But yeah, the reason was mainly because of its, it is modal, but I didn't really consider that, so maybe like Disrupt Chrome's worse, so I don't know. One or the other, really. Still, Hellkite, I want to say it's not horrible, but I don't know. It's not that amazing. I mean, it's just a big flyer. It can destroy some stuff. It can destroy our own stuff. So, I don't know. We've got enough removal as it is, really. We've got like 14 or more pieces of removal. And even though this is more of a Wrath style of an effect on a flyer, I don't know. I don't think it's well worth it. Wall of Omens, we are quite low on card draw, and I'll get to that in a minute. But just getting a one-off card draw isn't where we want to be, and this doesn't really add anything to our deck. It's a blocker, I guess, but doesn't do nearly enough, so just no. For what I added, I decided that the new Aurelia would probably be pretty good. Even if we're not the ones attacking with all the creatures, we get the benefits still, so that's pretty darn good, and quite useful for us. I also decided to put some of the Monarch stuff in here, because if we're not getting attacked, then we draw a card in our turn. And if we are getting attacked, then we can attack to get the Monarch back. So that's something that we want to do probably anyway. And just having the game fight over the Monarch is pretty good in general. The Court here, making us 3/1s, and they stick around for a while, and they also deal damage to our opponents, seems alright. Same with Emberwild Captain. It deals damage to our opponents if they're going to attack us, which means they're going to attack us way less sometimes, because they'll take a whole bunch of damage. And also gives us the Monarch to draw, so pretty good. The Commando, again, this isn't as good as the other Aurelia, but, it's still pretty good. If we attack with 2 or more creatures, we draw a card. This is a nice flyer. Can get in there pretty easily, so we just need another creature to get in there with, and we're golden. We're drawing cards, so that's pretty useful. The Georager, I like this because we just goad our opponents every time we landfall, so that's pretty useful. Yes, sometimes you can get caught not dropping lands and whatnot, but hopefully you'll be dropping lands. Like, I've had that problem even at 3 mana or even 2 mana, but still, it can happen. But still, like, it should be pretty useful if we can get it going. Karlach, we're an attack deck. We want to take multiple combats, so I think that this sort of thing is pretty good. We could have some of the other multiple combat sort of stuff in here as well, but yeah, I didn't want to overload it too much on just taking too much out and whatnot. Like I said, we've got a decent amount of ramp, and we've got quite a bit of removal, really. We just don't really have enough card draw in this deck, or card advantage cards in this deck. That's one thing that I think that the deck really lacks, and that you really need to look out for and try to find ways to sort of, increase your card advantage in these sorts of decks. They're kind of hard to really do that because they just refuse to print cards that actually draw cards in these colors. Like, red only gets looting or exile-based effects, and white only gets it like once per turn effects or whatever, so, and things like that nowadays. And a lot of the good white card draw doesn't really work with what we're kind of doing, because it's mostly for white weenies and that sort of thing. So I don't know. It would be nice if they actually gave these colors just a couple more spells. They gave it Aurelia, which is good, but they need like 3 or 4 more spells just to, like, or cards that really, give you good card advantage, to really be like playably good. For what I would cut for just like straight up card draw, like, again, there's a bunch of removal in here, like even Boros Reckoner and some of these other stuff, like, or even Disruptic or things like that. You could play the creature from Baldur's Gate, Commander Legends Baldur's Gate, that goads every creature that's power less than it, and then just put counters on it, or put auras on it, or whatever, or put equipment on it to goad more things, or whatever, and that sort of thing. I don't even know why, like, Soul Snare and, like, Seal of Cleansing are in here. We could just be running other, like, removal. I don't know. Stalking the Onin, I don't know why that's kind of in here. Like, again, like there's some in here, like Vow of Loyalty and things like that make 100% sense. But, like, there's a bunch of removal that doesn't really add much to the deck. So, there is that, but the biggest problem with these colors is, like, the card draw aspect of it. You just, like, you don't have enough ways to really draw cards and keep your advantage up and whatnot, so it's tough. Even, like, Tome of Legends isn't too amazing, and I'm not a huge fan of Atali. I know some people really love Atali, but I'm not a huge fan of it because, like, 9 times out of 10 when we get our opponent's stuff, they've got crap that we don't want, and when we get our own stuff, we're either getting stuff that, isn't working at the right time or isn't timed correctly because we're just getting it on our combat or after our combat. So, like, a lot of things trigger on our combat or when we attack and things like that. So, like, or whatever, or work with being, like, goading our opponent's stuff. So, yeah. And even, like, Smuggler's Share isn't too amazing. So all the card draw that was in here, or pretty much in here, really wasn't, like, that amazing. Like, maybe Atali's okay, like I say. I'm just not a huge fan of it because it really whiffs hard sometimes and can be really quite, like, a nuisance as well. So, but whatever. It is what it is. But yeah, you guys can let me know what you think of this list. Write your thoughts down there in the comments below. Hope you've enjoyed it one way or the other, and hope you join me again in another one.